Across the Board with Ian the Colonel here on hawkradio.org and acrosstheboardradio.com. Talk about some of the greatest up-and-coming bands. We try to bring you the biggest bands that have been around for years and the bands that will be around for years. This next band is one of them for sure. Coming up out of Canada, great rock alternative bands out of Canada these days. Been on the Warped Tour and will be back on that and every other tour out there. We have Mercedes from Courage My Love with us right now. Mercedes, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So again, big fans of what we've heard out of the debut EP, which actually drops pretty soon in Japan, but has been out in the U.S. and Canada since I guess November of last year, right?
That's right. Yeah, it came out in October, actually on Halloween, so basically November.
Nice. Okay, and that's called For Now, and that's the debut EP. Now, let's talk a little bit about, obviously, you guys are really young, you and your twin sister, and then Dave is in the band as well. But you guys are, 18, 19 now, right?
Yeah, we're 18, and David just turned 20.
Okay, so really, really young, but sound accomplished already, and that's always fascinating,
right.
To us when you have that talent and good songwriting at your age. You also have your own record label, Homeschool Prom. Talk to me about what that means to have a record label these days. Like exactly what is that model these days?
Well, our label right now, it's not really anything special at this point because we just sort of started it, and the reason why we started it is because we were signing a distribution deal with Warner Music.
Mm-hmm.
They're a major label, but we wanted to sort of keep control of our music and everything like that, and we were trying to think of the best way to be still indie but signed.
Mm-hmm.
So we made our own record label. So we're not signing bands or anything right now, but hopefully in a couple of years when we have more resources and everything like that, then we might be in a position to do that.
Excellent.
Do you think it makes it a little easier for you as well? I know a lot of bands try to do their own thing nowadays, and some like to stick with a big label. Some say it's easier that way. Some say it's easier on their own. Do you think that's part of the genesis for this as well?
Yeah, it's getting a lot easier, I think, to sort of do things on your own in the sense that now, you can just go online and bands already have all these websites and, social networking sites that make it really easy to get your music all over the world.
Right.
So labels sort of have to compete with that. But I think that having a label like Warner is just great. It was great for us anyway because they've just been really helpful with, distributing our music places and then tour support and everything like that. So I don't know. If bands want to do it by themselves, I think that tools are definitely out there and that it's not impossible. So I would suggest if you were thinking about getting signed, you have some deals coming in, just make sure you look them over and make sure that you're going to be working with people who you really like and who are really good for you.
We will do that.
Talk about an old soul. I mean, Mercedes, you sound so mature in the business world for your age. Now,
I try not to get too into the business stuff, but
it's smart to cover your back, though. I guess.
Yeah, the more you know, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, you have to sort of know a little bit about it, so you don't go in totally blind,
Right. And now, you guys are incredibly talented as well because everybody in the band actually sings. You play guitar, your sister Phoenix plays drums, and David Blake Dixon plays bass as well. What made you choose the guitar and your sister choose the drums? Was it, just some holiday your parents gave you, here's a guitar for you and drums or pick, or how did that work out?
I don't even really know. Phoenix and I we were sisters, obviously, so we've been writing and jamming together for as long as I can remember. And it just sort of naturally happened that way. We used to both play guitar, and we both used to play drums too, actually, but I was never that good. I don't know. I think maybe you're either born a drummer and you're really coordinated and good with, coordinating all your limbs at once, or you're not, and I don't think I was. But Phoenix is really good at it, so I don't know, it just sort of naturally happened. We would start writing stuff just on acoustic guitars, and then eventually it evolved into rock music, and then you obviously have to have a drum kit if you want to compete with a guitar amp.
Right.
So.
As a drummer myself, I can tell you, I don't think I was necessarily born to be a drummer. but I can tell you now, I was not born with the coordination. I had to learn that. I had to acquire that over the years. I was definitely not born instilled in me at birth or anything. It definitely didn't happen.
You should definitely see me on a drum kit. It's pretty pathetic.
Okay,
pretty
see,
bad.
that's what you need to do then sometime. At some show, you need to hop up there and switch and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't be any worse than Meg White.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, zing!
I'm sorry. I've never been a huge fan of her as a drummer.
You could put a monkey on a drum kit and it would be better than Meg White. It would be more creative.
I think Jack White is a hell of a musician. He's absolutely astounding, but Meg White, not so much.
Oh, yeah, she's great. And I mean, I know Phoenix gets annoyed a lot because, Meg White is probably one of the most famous in, like, the mainstream music. Like, she's probably one of the most famous female drummers out there.
No.
So Phoenix is like,
for people who don't know what they're talking about.
Like, couldn't you at least, like, have a female drummer out there who actually had, like, some chops? I don't know.
Hand them a Cindy Blackman video.
Yeah, exactly.
Just saying.
Absolutely. Mercedes, what kind of guitar do you play? And when you're searching for tone, what do you think about? Or do you think about that, or you just get up there and, rip some power chords?
Yeah, well, I mean, it started out like that for sure, but eventually the more you play, the more important your sound sort of becomes to you, I think.
Sure.
Especially if you have, like, musicians who are your peers and everything like that. You kind of just want to have the best sound possible. So what I play right now is an Ibanez Prestige.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I also am endorsed by Hagstrom Guitars, so I play an Hagstrom Ultra Sweet.
Okay.
And my rig right now, I'm using a Fractal Audio Axe Effects head with Mesa preamp in it and Mesa cabs.
Ah, Mesa Boogie. All right, I got you.
Yeah.
Good times. What do you think that, I know a lot, I kind of want to hit some more on the fact that you're so mature for your age and knowledgeable, especially knowledgeable of the business and the industry. With your peers, do you constantly, like, do they try to talk down to you like you don't know what you're talking about when actually you've got a good idea, or do they try to hit on the fact that maybe you know too much, like why aren't you interested in anything else type thing? I think at 18, I know the last thing on my mind was the music industry, even if I wanted to be a musician and how to make it in the industry. That's why I'm asking that. Right.
Well, I mean, I guess I've just sort of learned a little bit, because the first time we went into a studio, actually, a real legit studio that wasn't, like, owned by one of our friends or something like
right.
that, was when we recorded our debut album, which came out last year and just came out in Japan for now, right? So we definitely had a lot to learn. We came in kind of green, and we're still pretty green, I'd say, because we're a young band. So, I'm not saying that we've learned, like, everything there is to know, but we definitely learned a lot. We learned about the recording process and definitely about the business aspect of things, which I had no idea about before. I, like many people, was sort of taken in by the smoke and mirrors of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And not that it's all bad, because there's some cool things about the industry, but there's also some kind of bad things that no one really knows about.
Okay.
And they're kind of like tricks of the trade and, like, secrets and stuff like that. But I try not to let that affect the music too much, because in the end, that's what's most important to me, is just writing music and creating good music. So, the business end is important, but definitely if I had to choose between one or the other, I would go for the music for sure.
Across the board here with Ian the Colonel and Mercedes Arn-Horn from Courage My Love. Again, the website is ilovecouragemylove.com. ilovecouragemylove.com. You can read about all of their upcoming shows. And again, the debut EP out right now is For Now. Go get it. Mercedes, I see on your bio that you guys list, American director Kevin Smith as one of your fans.
That's right.
How describe that? Give the background info on that.
Well, okay, it's kind of a long story.
It's a long show. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. There's a show affiliated with Kevin Smith called Tell Him Steve Dave.
Okay.
And they basically play bands at the end of every show. And one of David's friends told him, "Oh, you should send in your stuff." So we did, and they played it right away, and we were really stoked on it.
Awesome.
So they played it, and then instead of just making it sort of a one-off thing, we kind of became like regular topic on their show. So they would bring up our name all the time, and whenever we had new songs or whatever, they'd play it. And it was really cool because they actually were really good to us, promoting us and everything, but they would joke around about us too because, you know, it's like 3 guys, sometimes 4, like, you know, sort of middle-aged guys on the show who are sort of like geeks about comic books and all that sort of stuff, and then they're joking around about like these 2 teenage girls or whatever, you know. But it was actually pretty cool that they would do that, so it was cool to get to know them. And then Kevin Smith heard about us through that because they had a contest on one of their shows where Walt Flanagan, who was on Tell 'em Steve Dave, he wrote these lyrics about his experiences owning a comic book store and selling comic books. And he wanted the song to be called I Sell Comics. And he said, any band out there, like, we want you to write a song with these lyrics, because he thought that no one would be able to write a song with those lyrics.
That's cool.
So then obviously we had to accept the challenge. So we wrote a song called I Sell Comics, and then Kevin Smith put that song on his show, and he got us in to interview us and stuff. And I don't know, he's just been really, really good with promoting us and giving back to, you know, all his fans and everything.
Certainly somebody good to have in your corner, I'll tell you that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all his movies are awesome, so...
Do you guys design your own T-shirts, by the way? I see one, the Unicorns T-shirt, where it's I don't know if it's supposed to be you. It's a chick on a unicorn with kind of a bloody axe and a head in her hand. So was that your idea, or what's going behind that?
Yeah, we designed that one for sure. And the way that happened is someone asked us. You know, in almost every interview you get, people ask you to describe your music, and we, I guess, just got kind of tired of saying like, well, we're a pop-punk band.
Right.
So we said instead, we were like, okay, our music sounds like a girl riding a unicorn through a field of flowers, her ex-boyfriend, and a bloody axe in her other hand. So,
Nice.
I don't know, then we thought that was actually kind of cool. So
I
we
like
made
it.
a T-shirt.
You describe your music like Chino from Deftones writes lyrics, by the way. Just, you know, seeing colors and what's going on in your head. I dig that. That's a cool. And we actually don't usually ask that question because it is a cliche question. But when you say it like that, I dig it. And that might be, you know, a good way to describe our show. I don't know. Not as feminine, but yeah, I like it.
Not a unicorn, it's a minotaur.
Something like that.
Yeah, Minotaur.
A minotaur. You know, you've played the stage you've been with, you know, Paramore alongside of them, and Tokyo Police Club, Day to Remember, all great bands. Who haven't you played with yet that would be like a dream to be able to share the stage with?
Oh my God, there are like so many bands. Well, we just played Warped Tour with a few bands that I really, really like heavier bands, so like Every Time I Die, For You're Strong, bands like that.
For You're Strong, good call.
There's so many bands out there, I can't even say, like every band in the world.
I might have to make that happen.
Yeah, you have time, for sure. Yeah, Warped Tour is good this year, by the way. We'll be there next week, I guess, or coming up, we'll be there as well.
Nice.
Yeah, talk about I have never, you know, we're talking off air, and I said that I actually have a friend from Kitchener, where you guys are based, there in Ontario, but I have never been there. What's the scene like there? I mean, it's a decent-sized town from what I've read. I think like 200,000 people, something like that. But what's the scene like there, and how is that conducive to you guys becoming a great band?
Oh, thanks. Well, the scene there is definitely like hardcore, metal, punk, thrash, like super heavy bands.
Nice.
That's what's the most popular over here right now. So I think that's definitely influenced our music in the sense that, you know, that we have some heavier parts and all that sort of, maybe some of the voicings of the chords and some of the leads. And then Phoenix has like the double kick pedal and everything, and the China cymbal is like breakdowns, conducive to most metal or hardcore music. But I always thought that we were a pretty light band because the shows we play, you know, the local shows we used to play at our hometown, there'd be all these metal bands, and then Phoenix and I would be like the only girls like in a band at the show. So I always thought that we were a pretty light band. And then we go to Toronto and stuff, and we play a bunch of shows, and we're the heaviest band on the bill. And I'm realizing, like, you know what, there's other kinds of music out there that exist. So,
Right.
yeah, I think that the scene in Kitchener definitely influenced our music in a heavy way, but like that maybe makes us stand out a little bit from some of the other female-fronted bands out there.
Do you think of yourselves as a female-fronted band or just a band? I mean, you said you noticed that you were, some of the only females around, but I mean, do you think about bands like Straight Line Stitch, In This Moment, OTEP, bands like that? And do you think Paramore? Do you think of them as female-fronted bands like yourself, or we're just a band, we're two chicks and a dude?
Right. Yeah. Like, I think not to diss like all-girl bands, because I think that's awesome. It's like really good. It's empowering, and a lot of them can really, really play. But I'm kind of glad that we're not an all-girl band, because the problem is a lot of people are saying like, oh, like that's their gimmick, and then the music doesn't even really stand out, or they don't listen closely enough to the music because they're like, oh, it's like that chick band,
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're not an all-girl band. We have David in the band. But I think a lot of the time, that's sort of what brings people to our music in the first place. It's like, oh, like these chicks in a band, or like these two girls in the band.
That's got to be annoying.
But then it's like our job then to sort of prove to them that our music is actually, worth listening to, and that we can actually play and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you're not the Anna Kournikova of music.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Right.
Here's something that I've never really asked any of our younger guests on the show. How hard at your age is it to try to develop a relationship while you're out touring and trying to make music?
Like with friends and stuff, or like
friends, or even a romantic relationship.
Right.
I mean, just being social has got to be
hard,
difficult.
I don't think, at least not at this point. I mean, yeah, it kind of sucks when like you have to go off and do your own thing. Because I was talking to one of my other musician friends, and we were talking about like, oh, like it's awesome, but I miss my hubby or whatever. And then he was just saying, like the music industry, musicians are pretty selfish in the sense that they have to go off and do their thing.
Right.
And then they always are leaving people behind, right?
Right.
Whether it's like your parents or, like your boyfriend or whatever. But it's not actually that hard for me, because I have an awesome time on the road, so it's great. And then David and Phoenix are like, my two best friends or whatever. So
I'm sure
it's not that hard yet, but yeah, it can be sort of weird sometimes.
Yeah, I would think so. Being on the road a lot, for some of the stuff that we do, we travel a lot as well, and it's all
short-term relationships.
Yeah.
where like you meet someone, you say, "Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming out."
Yeah,
that's it. That's the extent. Of,
you pretty much you just have to find someone who's understanding. Like a lot of my friends and people that I hang out with and I actually form relationships with are musicians. So
because they understand
for the most part, because if they had the opportunity to go on tour, then they would take it, right?
Who wouldn't? Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter what age you are.
I think it's easier if you have someone who understands and who knows it, rather than someone who maybe isn't, they don't really go to shows or anything like that, so they don't really know, what the big deal is.
Where are you most comfortable? In the recording studio, which, you've done the one album, or on the road? Do you prefer the big tours like Warped Tour, or a small club? What really gets you going?
Ah, man, that's good.
We try.
I don't know, because they're all different, Like, the awesome thing about small clubs is that you pack them, and then, by the end of the night, there's, like, holes in the walls, and, like, people with bloody noses and stuff.
If it's a good show, yeah.
Yeah, it's just awesome. And that always has a really good vibe when you pack like a small place, and then it's just a really good show and everyone's having a good time. Places like festivals, like Warped Tour, are awesome because you get to be outside, and that's really fun. And they have a different vibe because the stages are usually really good, and like the sound is usually pretty good, and the fans are pretty good too. But they're a little more structured, maybe.
Okay.
Right.
But, I mean, I like that, too. I like anything like that. And then the studio is awesome because you kind of get to, you can forget about looking good and, like, rocking out super hard, and you can just, like, focus purely on the sound you're making. Like when I'm in the vocal booth, I turn off all the lights and close my eyes, and that's how I record. So I don't know. It's cool to, you know, go on stage and be a total animal and stuff, and then when you're in the vocal booth, it's sweet to just sort of, it's almost like you don't even have a body. You like close your eyes and you're just a voice. So I don't know.
So
I like them both.
It's difference between maybe performing and just that kind of focus on the vocals and the instruments. That's cool. I've never been a rock star, neither has the Colonel.
Liar.
But you know, we've been to rock shows, never performed on a stage. I have been in recording studios though. So we always want to hear what it's like from the artist's point of view as well. Colonel, go.
Cool.
You know, a lot of people still remember that big band from a few years ago, Marumsco.
Oh yeah.
That's a long story. Inside joke. Go.
Mercedes, if you had 5 to 10 minutes left to live in the world, and you could hear any one song or perform any one song, yours or someone else's, what would that one song be?
If I could hear a song or if I could perform a song?
You could
Both,
hear
either
or
one.
perform it, yeah.
Oh, man.
Or you could have one of each.
One of each. Okay. If I were going to perform a song,
Mm-hmm.
I would want to perform, I guess, a song, like a really upbeat, awesome song, one of ours that the fans really like. So we would have one last mosh pit or something before
Hell yeah.
The world totally ended.
So
And if
maybe
I was gonna
Bridges or
listen to a
Barricade?
song, if I was going to listen to a song, there's
Okay.
like so many good songs out there. But I would say I would want to listen to probably an Against Me song. Anything off White Crosses.
Nice. And there you go. We were just, playing Against Me earlier. So
I know. I was like, what?
Okay.
This is awesome.
And it worked. Teenage Against Me. Okay, then you know what? Since you mentioned that, let's just briefly touch on that. How do you feel about the recent, I don't know, should we say, change in Against Me?
You know what? When I heard about it, I couldn't believe it, but I totally support his decision.
Sure.
I mean, if you think about it, that's the most ultimately punk thing you can do. I mean, he's rebelling, and if he wants to be a woman, then that's his call, totally. Nothing should stand in his way, and that doesn't make him any less punk. If anything, it makes him more punk. I just really hope that the band can stay together, and because I hear that they still want to stay together
Right.
and make music. But you know what? If the lead singer isn't happy in the band, then the music isn't going to be as good anymore. So all I really care about is that he does what makes him happy.
Right, and I think the Colonel and I agree on this when I say that I really don't care what he does in his personal life. That's his personal life, and that's not my business to judge him or anything like that. I just hope, like you said, the band stays the same. If it changes his singing voice or the way the band is, that I think could possibly be an issue. But otherwise, rock on.
From
More
what I
power
understand-
to
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
From what I understand, the only thing that's going to change is whether what the sex is on the driver's license or whatever forms that
Yeah.
they have to fill out. Everything else should
exactly.
stay the same.
And Tommy Gable, again, shout out to him. He has been a guest on our show, as a friend of the show. So yeah, we fully support Against Me as well. So, but in any case, back to Courage My Love. I Love Courage My Love is the website, and the debut EP is out right now. For now, you can get it on iTunes. You can get it on probably Amazon, all of those places, right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, and then you guys have Facebook. You're everywhere. Twitter, YouTube. You have a MySpace. I don't know why, but you have one.
Oh, God, don't go to our MySpace.
The rumor is it's making a comeback. I don't know. It's on your website. I'm just, So, and again, Barricade and Bridges are the two videos out right now. Love them both. Big fans. And anything else that we need to know before we let you go, Mercedes?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess we just released an acoustic EP.
Okay.
So
What's
it's an acoustic... Well, it's an acoustic EP. It's like acoustic versions of all the songs off of For Now.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes it different from, like, a regular acoustic EP, it's not just acoustic versions, it's not just the song played acoustically. We really changed around the arrangements and stuff, and we made it
Nice.
sound like almost totally different songs.
So it's kind of like Unplugged, that MTV show
Yeah,
Unplugged.
yeah, exactly. Like there's new parts. We changed time signatures, all
Wow.
that sort of stuff. So
Excellent.
I like it a lot.
How do you learn how to write a song like that? How do you learn to write certain time signatures and tempos and keys and that sort of thing? You just by listening, or did you pick up a book?
Yeah, well, like Phoenix and I have studied music for pretty much our whole lives, like since we were little kids. Like we had to take theory exams and all just kinds of exams and stuff. So I think that helps for sure. But the further I get in studying music, like I'm about to take my like grade 10 vocal exam and everything. So the further I get, the more I learned that there's some things that you just can't learn. You have to be a musical person. You know, you can't really learn musicality. You can try and imitate musicality, but if you're not a musical person, then I don't know how much theory is going to help you. So
right, you're born
the
with an
theory
ear or
definitely
not.
helped writing music and stuff. But yeah, if you just like are a musical person, I think you'll be able to write music very well.
Very, very valid point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're
like
tone
that.
deaf, there's probably not a whole lot you can do. Like you said, you can imitate
Whether
it.
you
but-
want to or not, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Last question. I know it's getting long, I know, but I have to get your opinion. I'm not going to tell you how we feel about this band either way, but they
Okay.
are a Canadian band, and they're probably the most polarizing band in North America right now. What are your feelings? And if you choose to not answer, I understand. What are your feelings on Nickelback?
Nickelback, their drummer is awesome.
Well said. I like it. Very, very. See, you even know how to answer questions like a pro. Good job. All right. Anyway, I love Courage My Love is the website. And again, go check these guys out and see them live. We always talk about this with every interview. Don't just buy the music, experience it. You have to go out and see them live. And like Mercedes said, she and Phoenix and David go out there and they rock out like beasts. So, do them a favor and go out and check them out and become an even bigger fan. So we appreciate it. We'll be back here in a few minutes on Across the Board. I'm E. He's the Colonel. This is Across the HawkRadio.org.
And acrosstheboardradio.com.